So I was thinking about the assassination attempt on the vice president in Argentina and how guy runs up and he's got that weird gun and then it doesn't go off, and how there was also the Shinzo Abe assassination with that crazy 3D printed gun.
The Kingdom Hearts gun.
Yeah, the guy also had like a Nerf gun with like 9 barrels or whatever. There is a third instance of this happening in history with like a made up gun, I guess. I guess the Argentina person didn't have a made up gun, but I'm just barreling through like.
Yeah, if they built it at home, they built it right, like the Shinzo Abe assassin.
Well, the guns.
Person be in the ground.
Well, how do I explain this? You know, history doesn't repeat itself; it rhymes. You know.
Oh yeah, like Star Wars.
I'm just barreling through like revolutions and weird 1800s like history right now, and I just got through this very obscure story from French history that fucking kicks ass. So let's talk about the infernal machine, in parentheses, weapon. I'm reading the Wikipedia page because I'm bad at podcasting.
Oh, it's a weapon.
So
some other kind of inferno machine.
Basically what happened is, and I will read, on July 28th, 1835, this guy, Giuseppe Marco Fieschi, attempted to assassinate King Louis Philippe I using the infernal machine. The gun was positioned on the windowsill in Fieschi's 3-room lodging on the 3rd floor of number 50 Boulevard du Temple in Paris. I did not pronounce that right. Overlooking the street on the route that the king and his convoy were expected to take as part of the yearly Paris National Guard inspection. When the convoy was passing directly below, Fieschi, waiting in ambush, fired the infernal machine. The gun fired a volley of approximately 400 projectiles. Even though 4 barrels misfired, 4 barrels burst, and one of the 25 barrels was not loaded, as it did not have a touch hole and could not be fired. The king only suffered a graze to the forehead, a minor injury, but 18 people were either immediately killed or later succumbed to their wounds. An additional 22 people were injured, and at least 4 of these had limbs amputated due to the severity of their injuries. When he fired the weapon, Fieschi suffered severe wounds to his head, face, and hand. He fled from his lodgings and was later captured by authorities after they followed the trail of blood from his injuries. So the cops followed a trail of blood.
This is not a good gun. This is more of an infernal machine, really.
It was believed that Fieschi could have successfully escaped had he not been injured by the gun's discharge. Now, you might be asking, what is the infernal machine? Why did it not work? Why does it say it had 25 barrels? Well, it was described as a quote-unquote super gun. The infernal machine was designed to fire 25 rifle barrels at the same time. Each barrel was originally believed to have been loaded with 8 bullets and 20 lead pellets, but a thorough inspection of the misfired barrels by Jean Lepage, arc-bruiser extraordinaire to the king. I have no idea what an arc-bruiser is.
Yeah, he's his number one bruiser. He's in charge of tackling for the kingdom.
Showed that each barrel contained about 3.5 to 4 inches of gunpowder, 6 to 8 balls, 2 layers of wadding, and 13 to 14 slugs.
Yo, so I have this up. This looks like a piano.
Yeah, it's a
How did anyone get shot by this?
It's a fucking piano, except instead of like keys, like the keys all fire each an individual rifle. There's, instead of organs like with the air coming out the top, it's like gun barrels, and you just sit there and go ha 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 ha.
Oh, Your Majesty, we have a wonderful song for you in this room. Why don't you take your shirt off and stand right there?
The weapon built of
Murders
wood.
everyone around him but him somehow.
And him, kind of. Like he blows himself up, and they catch him because he leaves a trail of blood trying to get away. The weapon, built of wood and metal, was constructed in a room overlooking the street on the 3rd floor of number 50 Boulevard de Temple, where it was later used for the failed assassination, yada, yada, yada. The barrels were mounted side by side with each with a touch hole in line with the next. In combination with a trail of gunpowder, the barrels could all be fired at once using a single fuse, so like Wile E. Coyote. The weapon was measured by LePage to be approximately 3.3 feet in length and width and 4 feet high. French artillery officers who inspected the machine after the assassination attempt speculated that if Fieschi had been an artilleryman or otherwise known more about designing weaponry, he would have been successful in his assassination attempt of the king and his staff. He had constructed it so the gunfire diverged and crossed as opposed to the parallel and converging.
Nothing about this looks like it would successfully assassinate anybody.
The attack, this guy said, might have killed up to 200 additional people and, quote, literally tore the king and his staff to pieces.
Whoa.
So
Okay.
Fieschi walked so the guy who killed Shinzo Abe could run, you know?
In his own way, yeah, I guess. I mean, he killed a lot more unrelated people.
I know, he killed so many people.
If that's a negative thing, I don't know what he's going for here.
This is like an early, like, historical, like, kind of post-Napoleon era version of like a killdozer type thing or whatever. He just made this up. This is like not a weapon.
It doesn't look like one. Like, I still don't really understand where like the trigger is or where any of the stuff goes. I don't know if it's been dismembered or whatever, but it looks like just like a bed frame with 25 pipes on it.
He just tied 25 guns together and called it the Infernal Machine.
Yeah. It's like if you tape two forks together, you've invented the double fork.
I don't know. It reminds me on like Game of Thrones when Qyburn would bring out a thing he like invented or whatever, and he's like, "I've been working on this in the castle." It's called a 25 gun.